Check your food labels lately? No, I mean really. Well, tonight, the medical news you need to know about keeping yourself and your family safe. Because the real truth is, they've been trying to poison us for decades, and they've almost succeeded. We'll take a closer look at the new euphemism for genetically modified. It's called bioengineered. Taking any plant, animal, or microbe and altering the natural DNA. It allows selected individual genes to be transferred from one organism to another, including between non-related species. This is your nightly dose of truth in medicine, the only antidote to the propaganda. Welcome to Dr. Jane Ruby Stat. Dr. Jane Ruby here. The air you breathe, especially in your own home, is critical to maintaining your health. Triad Air is an air purifier that combines advanced photocatalytic oxidation with scalable purification using high-level negative ionization and electrostatic filtration to obliterate organic contaminants. All of the purifiers reduce harmful pathogen counts by almost 100% in less than 24 hours. And my social media community tells me over and over that they no longer get symptoms around those who took the C19 shots. The main unit protects a house up to 3,000 square feet, and the other products cover single rooms in small areas like dormitories, your car, and yourself, fitting on your backpack, belt, or purse. Check it out at filterssuck.com, and don't forget to use the promo code RUBY for 10% off on everything and free shipping. Welcome to Dr. Jane Ruby Stat on this Monday night, May 1st, 2023. I'm your host, Dr. Jane Ruby. Last week, I acquainted you with a product called Apeel, where small labels appearing all over the place on fresh produce occurred, like apples, oranges, avocados, cucumbers. And I explained to you that this Bill Gates-backed company is now proliferating the spray of this laboratory-created distillation of mono and diglycerides to well-known trans fatty acids that are already implicated in the acceleration of heart disease and stroke all over produce across the United States. And once I posted it on my social media, got it to 4 million views, people started reporting by the thousands that they were discovering it all over the place. Not only big box grocery stores, but also in little mom and pop grocery stores in their locales. So the whole thing led me to look a little bit closer at the issue of what is now called bioengineered food sources. And to my horror, it looks like nearly 75% of the average kitchen, including my own, is filled with products containing the label bioengineered. So when did that little shift occur between GMO, where everyone got all involved and paid attention and said, oh, I don't want something that's GMO, so labels started to say in the front, non-GMO, right? When did that transfer to the euphemism bioengineered? Well, language is powerful. The cabal knows that. That's why they changed the definition of the word vaccine, so that they could get away with a lot more and get away with different things. That's why they create what I consider softer terms, euphemisms, for things that can kill you. Bioengineered food is the same as genetically modified. So let's take a closer look at what genetically modified means and what it has grown to mean. Genetically modified is a technology that involves inserting DNA into the genome of another organism. To produce a genetically modified plant, new DNA is transferred into the plant's cells. Now, usually the cells are then grown in tissue culture where they develop into plants. The seeds produced by these plants will inherit the new DNA pattern. The characteristics of all living organisms are determined, of course, by their genetic makeup and its interaction with the environment. The genetic makeup of an organism is in its genome. which in all plants and animals is made of the DNA. The genome contains the genes, regions of DNA that usually carry instructions for making proteins. And it's these proteins that give the plant its characteristic. Genetic modification of plants involves adding a specific stretch or sequence of DNA into that plant's genome, giving it a new or different set of characteristics. How do you know what that sequence is going to result in? Well, maybe if you repeat it over and over again, you might see similar characteristics in the manifestation of that plant. But when you're dealing with higher complex organisms like animals or human beings, you can't be so sure. Now, this process includes changing the way a plant grows, or making it resistant to a particular disease, or making it more vulnerable to a particular disease. The new DNA becomes part of the GM plant's genome, which the seeds produced by these plants will ultimately contain. The first stage in making a genetically modified plant requires the transfer of that DNA into a plant cell. And one of the methods of doing that is to coat the surface of small metal particles with relevant DNA fragments and literally bombard the particles into plant cells. Take a look at my picture 3 as you watch a little bit of a pictorial depiction. Another method is to use a bacterium, a single form of bacteria or virus. There are many viruses and bacteria that can transfer their DNA into a host cell as a normal part of their life cycle. The gene of interest is transferred into the bacterium, and the bacterial cells then transfer the new DNA into the genome of the targeted plant cells. The plant cells that have successfully taken up that DNA are grown to create a new plant. On rare occasions, the process of DNA transfer can happen without deliberate human intervention. For example, the sweet potato contains DNA sequences that were transferred thousands of years ago from Agrobacterium into the sweet potato genome. But we're seeing the audacity of laboratory work trying to conduct God's work. That is essentially taking the DNA of a plant, an animal, or any microorganism and manipulating it so that it's absorbed and changes that targeted organism. The process is called transfection, and it can occur into and be targeted to happen into the species of that's not related. Now, they'll tell you they created the toxic produce covering called Apeel to extend the shelf life of food. And in fact, that's true, because the longer they can maintain the visual integrity of perishable foods, the less they have to throw out, the more they can sell, and the more money they can make. But where are the long-term studies of the effect this has had on developing babies and children and the rest of us? Hellmann's mayonnaise is almost an American icon as a product. What picture 1 shows you here is a very different story. Unfortunately, Hellmann's is one of hundreds of thousands of companies that use genetically changed materials in their food. When you take a look at this picture of the label of Hellmann's, taken by me just 2 days ago in a local family-owned grocery store in South Florida. What you see here in the red box is the words bioengineered food source. And take a look at picture 2. This is another American culinary icon called Coffee Mate. Again, take a look at either red box. It says, quote, ingredients derived from bioengineered source. But what are those bioengineered food sources? They don't tell you. And that's a serious concern. To just say, well, we used bioengineered food sourcing. Don't worry about it. We got this. And you know what? We did our due diligence. We disclosed it to you. Wow. We don't know what's in that. But I've got some interesting information when it comes to the example I'm using of Apeel, the company that Bill Gates, and I'm sure he's developed and backed up and funded many, many companies that we haven't yet discovered. I'm sure when you peel back that corporate layer of support and resources, I'm sure the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, as well as many other groups and organizations that he subs out under that foundation, are going to be identified. It all goes back to the same thing. You've got to get off of their grid. You've got to get off of their system and stop being dependent. Never has it been more critical to avoid, throw out, distance yourself from any kind of processed foods. Now, when I return, we will take a closer look at foods made after the DNA has been changed in order to make it bigger, faster, and higher profit. Faster to market, grown bigger so they can charge you more by the pound. It's all about greed, money, and profits. But in the process, pardon the pun, what are they doing to our bodies? Are they hiding heart attack, stroke, and then you couple it with the C-19 bioweapon shots that we know are damaging organs and body systems? Wow, we've got a recipe for depopulation. No question about it. I'll be right back. Hi everyone, Dr. Jane Ruby here. Many of you know that I promote products that I believe in and have vetted, but I also promote products that I use myself. I want to introduce you to Cardio Miracle, the world's best nitric oxide supplement. I'm getting reports from not only the general public, but from experts like Dr. Kevin Stillwagon, a frequent guest on the Dr. Jane Ruby Show. He's a treating doctor and experienced commercial airline captain, and he's reporting that Cardio Miracle is making a difference in reducing the symptoms in the jabbed, protecting people from the effects of the microclotting caused by spike proteins. It's delicious, and I mix one scoop in 8 ounces of water twice a day. For those of you who've taken the jab and are concerned about your cardiac and circulatory health, my conversations with Dr. Kevin Stillwagon and Josh Oder from U.S. Freedom Flyers in an upcoming interview on the Dr. Jane Ruby Show will show you them describing the benefits and the reports they're getting. So check it out at mypowerheart.com. Learn more and try it for yourself. That's Cardio Miracle at mypowerheart.com. Enjoy. Welcome back. Well, in the first segment, we talked about bioengineered food as the new softer term, or so they think. The new softer term for genetically modified food. Unfortunately, we are learning more and more that these practices have been going on for decades, and so our bodies have probably absorbed many, many more toxins for greed, profit, and depopulation than we could even conceive. What's most egregious to me is the lack of informed consent, or the shoddy parade theater of informed consent. Yes, they're putting a comment on foods to the effect that this product has bioengineered sources, but people don't really know what that means. And people are still relying on the agency formerly known as the FDA, which is the Food and Drug Administration, for their truth on safety and efficacy. Okay, how do we do with the drug end of that? Not well. Anyway, I'm going to show you tonight how they've lied. Let's start with picture 1. This is really interesting. Picture 1 is a montage of 2 particular clips from the Apeel site, the company that Bill Gates helped to set up. He financially supported its startup, and then subsequently Microsoft provided grants to found it and keep it going. First of all, in this section on the lower left, it says that the company, on their website, that Apeel is, in their words, quote, fully edible. Fully edible. But let's take a closer look. You see, it says here, Apeel is made from the edible plant oils and composed entirely, watch this, follow me, entirely of mono and diglycerides. I want you to remember that, because when I read you what they reported to the FDA itself, it's a little bit different. It's nowhere near entirely mono and diglycerides. Oh, they've got a few other things they reported that were in there. They say that they're non-GMO. Okay, well, that could be by definition. That it included no animal-derived inputs and do not contain wheat, soybean, peanuts, etc., blah, blah, blah. And it says they are committed to ensuring the highest standards of purity of our products in accordance with food regulations in your country. Okay, your country. Interesting loophole there. Okay, next. In the upper right-hand corner of picture 1, take a look. The company says it's made from food to protect your food and says you should trust the World Health Organization and the FDA. Wow. You know, the same agencies that led people over the cliff on the C-19 bioweapon shots? Oh yeah, I'll get right on that in terms of believing in what they have to say. Well, they say here, in fact, Apeel, the Apeel product is so safe, I'm quoting, you can see that here in the upper right-hand orange section that I have a red box around. They're so safe, they can be found in products designed for the most sensitive populations, like infant formula and nutritional shakes for the elderly. Where are those studies? I'll wait. Where are those studies showing how safe it is for babies and the elderly? Well, that's what I mean. They'll tell you that they use the natural materials from fruits themselves, but a closer look at the FDA website where the Apeel company reported on their process reveals actually a much more toxic picture. In picture 2, which I'm going to ask my producer to please put up here, this is so that you could see the title page from the FDA website so that you can see that it does exist, right? And I have posted this source in my Twitter, my Telegram channel, this FDA link to their URL to the FDA site. But let me read the summary for you because I extracted it. It's a long amount of text, and my producer is welcome to scan through if you have that. But let me share with everyone. It says Apeel Sciences describes the manufacturing process. This is the FDA website saying this. For monoglycerides, beginning with conversion of the 2 primary alcohol groups on the glycerol backbone to non-reactive moieties. They go on to say that I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, but they basically go on to say that there's a distillation process. But when you have a distillation process, you are also using other chemicals to do that. And that's my point in sharing this with you. Subsequent filtration removes the metal catalyst, and the resultant filtrate is crystallized and dried under vacuum to form the final product of the mono and diglycerides. Watch it. We're getting to the spray that they put on your lemon and your lime and your apple. Apeel Sciences states that all processing agents and starting materials used in the manufacture of the monoglycerides are food grade, okay, in accordance with good manufacturing processes. Are those the same good manufacturing processes that the FDA looked the other way and allows Pfizer and Moderna and all the other pharma companies to just ignore based on Sasha Latopova's work, showing you, there are no good manufacturing processes anymore. But here's the punchline, folks. Here's what we call the money shot. Right on the FDA website, quote, Apeel Sciences provides specifications for monoglyceride and diglycerides composing 91%, right? Not 100%. Remember I said to you, that piece from their website said it is made entirely, their words, not almost entirely, entirely of mono and diglycerides. But their report to the FDA says only 91% of it is monoglyceride, right? As well as limits for ethyl acetate, let me read the rest of it, because they go on to share with you. I'm going to read it right from the site. Toluene, hexane, individual heavy metals, including lead, palladium, and arsenic. Okay, let me repeat the company's own words to the FDA. 91% of the product is these disease-causing trans fat mono and diglycerides, and the rest of it's made up of just an array of, everyday metals, toxic industrial metals like toluene, hexane, lead, palladium, and arsenic in the finished product. Guys, you cannot make this up. I go back to informed consent. You can't say, well, we provided informed consent. When somebody goes to the grocery store, doesn't even look, you're all going to look now because you're much more aware. You take the bottle and you look at the bottom, like I showed you on the Hellmann's jar. I'm not singling out the Hellmann's company. Trust me, you do a little family experiment or grab a friend and go to any store. Go to 7-Eleven. Go to a big box grocery store like Kroger's, Publix, Wegmans. Go to your local family grocery store and take a pad and a pen, make a list of the products. Start with your favorites and just go down the aisles and look and see if it says made with bioengineered sources. How much of that is really informed? How much of that is informing you? Guys, if you find the Apeel label, when you see bioengineered on a jar, tell your grocer, tell the management, you know what, not trying to cause any problems here, but I won't be buying this anymore. And I'll only be buying the products off your shelves that don't have those warnings on them. Now, one of my concerns is that once we get people really up and running in terms of their awareness, the powers that be, the companies themselves for self-preservation, are not going to put the labels on. That's a very high level of deception, but call me crazy. Can you believe the military-industrial complex or anything that comes down out of it? I don't think so. Well, guys, I want to thank you for being with me tonight. Please remember to follow me on Rumble, my Rumble channel, which is rumble.com/Dr. Jane Ruby, for all of my shows. All of the Dr. Jane Ruby shows that are going to be airing every Tuesday and Thursday nights on that channel. The Dr. Jane Ruby stat shows here on Brighteon TV, Monday through Friday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, and also my coffee chats and the after talk segments after my major interviews you will find there as well. I want to thank all of you for your continued support, your efforts to stand with me in this frivolous anti-speech lawfare perpetrated upon me by the self-proclaimed inventor of the mRNA COVID injections, Robert Malone, who is suing me and Dr. Peter Breggin and his wife for $25 million, each of us $25 million, in defamation, or in his words, to put a chill on the internet and social media. Please go to givesendgo.com/protect Dr. Jane to donate to my legal defense. Because if you don't stand with me now, there won't be anybody to stand with you when it happens to you. God bless you all, and good night, everyone.